Okay, Scott from Occupy Houston. When did you become a member of the Occupy movement?
September 30th. Yeah.
Before the occupation started, you were in the meetings leading up to it.
Yeah, I checked. I had been following Occupy Wall Street on Reddit, and I decided to Google Occupy Houston September 29th, and it said General Assembly tomorrow at noon. It was the first General Assembly, so I canceled work and came out to that General Assembly, and I went to. I was there pretty much 24/7 until the October 6th rally, and I'm out here, most of the time.
When you can.
Yeah.
Good deal. How would you describe the situation in the United States right now?
The entire thing?
Well, I mean, take and choose. You don't have to say just right now. You can talk about 1776 till now, or any parts of it you want. It's kind of an open question for you to be able to talk about it.
I think the situation in the United States is the first thing that comes to mind is police state. It's become that's part of what Occupy has done is expose that we're in a police state, and it wasn't obvious because it was just
nobody was pushing on it.
It was just poor people that were suffering from the police state. But now it's like, oh, I did everything right. I went to college. I did everything my parents told me to do, and then I'm still getting arrested for some bullshit. And you realize that nobody is free from the police state. There's just people that are targeted and people that aren't. And now I'm a target. So I realize what it is. I think America is also a really great country with a lot of freedom that's being exercised by people. There's communities all over the country that exist autonomously, that exist freely, basically, and they use a consensus process. I've heard a lot. There's a lot of people have dropped by that say they come from a community that uses consensus. This is
That's not occupied.
Yeah, exactly. This guy Tawasi, he was raised in a community that used his consensus. And so not new. America, I think, is actually full of these ideas. What's the only thing that's different is that I see it as an ocean of community-based living. That there were dams up around all the cities, but the dams just broke.
It was Occupy.
Yeah. And that was this community flooding into the city centers where before the financial districts and the police forces had managed to keep it restricted to the country, to the rural areas, but now it's in the cities.
Yeah, you can't really kill an idea, it's going to spread, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe the Occupy movement?
It's a lot of different things. The more I say, the more I would need to say about it. But very simply, it is a political movement based around a community, which is based around a political movement. At its heart, it's two things: a political movement and a community.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to sum it up. Are you a member of the Economic 99%?
I do believe.
Less than $250,000 a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe. I haven't done my taxes just yet, but I think I'm under the poverty line.
So, would you mind telling us anything that you'd like to tell us about what that's like for you, just day-to-day life?
Well, it's I live with my parents, and I'm 25. So it's it does harsh on my style a little bit. I'm fairly comfortable, but that's because I came from an upper middle class background, which is now lower middle class, definitely.
It's kind of the middle class thing's been really moved around.
The middle class has been shifting, but I was raised with a middle class lifestyle, and still basically living one because my parents are still living way outside of their means, and so I've got a big bedroom whenever my parents can't really afford it, and I certainly can't afford it. I'm a substitute teacher. So I get
here in Houston.
Yeah, actually up in Spring, which is about 20 minutes out. So I'm from the burbs, very strong suburban background.
When you're a worker, you have no problem going to get a job and doing these things,
No. I've been a substitute for about 2 years, and
and obviously school before that,
Yeah, I was in school before that, and I took a couple of years and worked various places. I worked at UPS, for example, just kind of whatever.
Making ends meet.
Yeah, exactly. Just making ends meet, just trying to feed myself and continue growing as a person whenever there's no real opportunity or place. There's no path for me anymore. I went through the path until the end. It was like, okay, now you're graduated from college. What are you supposed to do now? And it's like, well, I don't know. You told me that once I graduated from college, like, I'd get a good
and being
job.
a teacher of all things is there's always, it's kind of like food and medical. There's always going to be a need for teachers.
Yeah, you'd think, but they're firing teachers left and right.
In Texas, I've talked to some teachers and some union member teachers, and things are rough right now here for teachers.
Right, yeah, it's a really bad time for teachers. And so I found my career just like not going anywhere.
Taking the education system here with it too.
Yeah. And so my choices were like either go to grad school and become qualified to teach at a university, if we still have universities in 3 years. I don't know.
The way things are going is like anybody's guess, right?
Yeah. And so that's kind of where I was. I was like, I'm taking a psychology course because I wanted to go to grad school. I needed a couple of prerequisites, but I was like, can I really justify going $100,000 into debt for the promise of a job which hasn't been delivered so far? Is there any reason to believe the economy is going to be better in 3 years? I don't think so.
Or the system itself, or anything.
Yeah, I don't see any signs of things improving, and so that's kind of the direction I was coming from whenever I Googled Occupy Houston. I was like, I gotta, my career isn't going anywhere. I gotta dramatically shift my perspective.
And then this is a noble career too. Teachers among the most noble careers, I believe.
People say that.
They don't treat them as such.
Yeah. Teachers really get the short end of the stick, I think, as far as, the parents and the administrators being the other two parties in the school system. There's the kids, the parents, the administrators, and the teachers. And I've seen more and more responsibilities being put on the teacher. Just from,
without any more benefits.
Yeah, exactly. And teachers spend in America, they spend millions of dollars out of their own pocket collectively every year for supplies for their, if they want to do something creative with the kids, they need to supply the materials
something
themselves.
To get the kids interested in wanting to learn, something
Exactly.
outside of the normal.
Yeah, something in the curriculum that's not just a black and white worksheet.
They're going above and beyond because they want to teach the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And every teacher should be an above and beyond kind of person, but they can't because they're getting paid $40,000 a year.
And then you get cuts to that, and then you get things. People got fired, like you said. I did hear some about how many they let go.
Yeah, a lot of new teachers got fired this year, and
I heard that science and math teachers were hit harder than anybody or something. I don't know if that's true or not.
I always hear about the arts getting gutted, but I think it's hitting across the board at this point.
The whole education system here.
Yeah, the education system seems to be failing.
Do you have, one of your favorite Occupy experiences that you've been involved with, or a story from the whole Occupy movement that you would say is a favorite story you'd like to share with people watching this?
I know there's something.
Something meaningful to you. Whether it happened here or whether it was something you saw in another city or, something that had an impact on you that you think this is a really good memory of yours that you're going to have.
Well, I've got a lot, and the first image that comes to mind is, whenever we're standing out there on the corner, because 2/3 of us are smokers, and so
got to get out of the park now. All of a sudden,
yeah.
they really enforce all the park laws are getting heavily enforced now.
Yeah, so we're standing out there on the corner, and I look around, and every single face looks like an individual to me, instead of like a member of a group. Like no one's you can't identify like, oh, this is a group of hipsters or this is a group of skaters, or you can't like
even young and old. Yeah,
you can't do it. You can take any two people and it's just like this isn't a group of people. This isn't a classification, and so that's something that I find special on a daily basis. Whenever I look around at a group of people and it's like, wow, like we're Houstonians.
Yeah.
And we're a community, and
it's like an actual people's movement.
Yeah, it's an actual people's movement, and we're not coming from, I don't know, we're not coming from the same background. So we're actually learning from each other and learning about different ways of life and different sets of facts, different worldviews.
Yeah, and coming together instead of having these things that divide us make differences. It's people are putting, personal things a little bit to the side for the greater good, things that we all agree on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any message, or thing you would like to say to people who may not have heard of Occupy or may be misinformed about what the Occupy movement is?
My summary of what Occupy is about, if you're not sure what it's about, my opinion is that it's about human rights. If you're interested in human rights, then check out Occupy. You may not agree with, everything, all the problems that we recognize, but that's why we want you out here, is so that you can point point out the problems that we're not seeing. And so the more differences there are on everything else, the better.
Yeah.
But I think one thing we do agree on is that humans have rights, and those rights aren't being served in our country, and probably the world as well.
No, I agree with the Arab Spring. You heard a lot of our government officials saying how about universal rights and how these governments ought to be held accountable. And
the speech that Obama did about that, like whenever he was specifically talked about government crackdowns over there, it almost came off like satire.
Yeah.
Because it was like check, already happening in America, check, like down this, and I was like, wow, like he's got to know. He can't be like he's not.
Somebody must have told him. Yeah.
He's not that stupid. Yeah. Like he has to know that it comes off like satire if you know what's going on.
No, yeah, it's complete hypocrisy.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Is there any message you would like to share with your Occupy movement brothers and sisters in the state of Texas, specifically and across the national movement and the global movement as well?
Maybe this is the Texas in me coming out, but I think we're some of the most important occupations out of all of them, and I can't wait to see what happens in Texas over the next year.
What happens in Texas, don't stay in Texas.
Good deal, Chris. Thank you very much, my friend.